Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more scary stories. I was a typical teenager who loved to spend my time on social media. I had an obsession with Snapchat, so much so that I was constantly keeping up with the latest stories and chatting with my friends. One day, I was scrolling through my Snapchat feed when I saw something that caught my attention. It was an account with a username that I had never seen before. The username was The Shadowy Figure, and I was immediately intrigued. I decided to add him as a friend and see what they were all about. Within minutes, I received a message from them. It said, "Welcome to my world." I was a bit taken aback by the suddenness of it, but I replied with a friendly, "Hello." I received no response back, so I assumed they were just a creepy bot. I decided to move on and forget about the weird account. However, I started to receive more messages from them. They were always short and cryptic, but I was intrigued enough to keep reading them. They seemed to be warning me about something, but I couldn't figure out what. One night, I was lying in bed when I heard a loud thump coming from my bedroom window. I was too scared to look, but I slowly got out of bed and peered outside. To my horror, I saw a dark figure standing outside my window. I screamed and ran back to bed, but the figure had already disappeared. The next morning, I received a message on my Snapchat from the shadowy figure. It said, "I told you to be careful." I was terrified, but I couldn't help but be intrigued. I had to know who was behind this mysterious account. I decided to confront them and ask who they were. They replied with a single word, "Death." I was horrified and immediately blocked the account. I tried to forget about the whole thing, but the figure kept appearing in my dreams. It was always the same figure, looming over me with a menacing grin. I started to receive more messages from the shadowy figure. They were always warnings of some kind, but I was too scared to respond. I was convinced that if I replied, something terrible would happen to me. One night, I was sleeping when I heard loud footsteps coming from outside my window. I was too scared to look, but I slowly got out of bed and peered outside. To my horror, I saw the same dark figure standing outside my window. I screamed and ran back to bed, but the figure had already disappeared. The next morning, I received a message from the shadowy figure. It said, "I told you to be careful. Now you must face the consequences." My heart was pounding as I read the message. I was so scared that I couldn't move. I just stayed in bed, too scared to even look outside my window. The next few days passed in a blur. I was still terrified of the shadowy figure and what they might do to me. I tried my best to ignore the messages, but they kept coming. Finally, one night I decided to confront them. I sent him a message asking why they were tormenting me. They replied with a single word, "Revenge." I was terrified. I asked them what they meant, but they refused to answer. I begged him to stop, but they kept sending me messages. I was so scared that I couldn't sleep. Finally, after days of terror, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I sent him a message saying that I was going to the police. I was convinced that this would be the end of it, but I was wrong. The next day, I received a final message from the shadowy figure. It said, "You can run, but you can't hide. I will find you and I will make you pay." I was terrified, but I was determined not to let them win. I went to the police and reported the account. They took my statement and said they would look into it. For weeks, I was constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the shadowy figure to appear. Thankfully, nothing ever happened and the account was eventually shut down. To this day, I still have nightmares of the shadowy figure. I am grateful that I was able to escape their clutches, but the fear still lingers. I will never forget the terror of that night, and I will never use Snapchat again. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you want more scares.